Explain why the function f of r equals r of x equals x squared plus 1 is not surjective. So we write the rule of the function as y equals x squared plus 1. Then x squared plus 1 is equal to y. So we just swap this around. Then we get x squared equals y minus 1. So we bring the plus 1 over the other side and it becomes minus 1. And then to get the x on its own, we have to square root what's on the right hand side. So we get x equals plus minus the square root of y minus 1. There are many values of y for which this x is not a real number, i.e. that is not an element of the domain. So remember, the domain is R, the real number set. For example, if y was to be 0, then we would have 0 minus 1 underneath the root, and 0 minus 1 is minus 1, so we would end up with plus minus root minus 1, which is not a real number. The square root of a negative number is actually known as an imaginary number. Thus, there is no element of the domain which is mapped to 0 in the codomain. So that would mean that a y value of 0 would be left with no arrow pointing towards it if we were to draw this out with a mapping diagram. Thus, this function is not surjective. So again, the official definition of a surjective function is the function of f of x equals y is surjective if, for all y is an element of y, there exists an x is an element of x such that f of x equals y. So that means every y value has to have an x value going towards it. And in this case, y equals 0 would have nothing. So therefore, this function is not surjective.